Alright, boys, welcome back to the channel A10 MMA. Today, we're going to be discussing the most and least goonable UFC fighters. Obviously, we're not going to be including every single UFC fighter, but in my opinion, these are just the highlights for each of our categories here. Can make it work is kind of like mid. Top 1% on OF Goon. I mean, there's a lot of busted bitches on the top 1% on OF, to be honest. But then S tier Goon, that's like a top tier Goon. That's my go-to, right? And then obviously we have expert difficulty Goon, slightly below average Goon. Not ideal, but you can make it work. And then nightmare difficulty Goon. Gonna be very hard. You have to be an expert Gooner, a pro Gooner to successfully Goon to whoever's in that category. And then our fifth category is just black. You know what I mean? Take that as you will. You don't have to necessarily even be black to be in that category, but the category's there. Take that as you will. It's up for interpretation. So, jumping right into it. Luana Santos, I believe her name is. I mean, she's a pretty high-level Goon. I wouldn't necessarily put her in top 1% on OF Goon, though. I think, she has too much of a Brazilian rainforest, indigenous look to her. I think people overhype her, to be honest. I've seen the TikTok. She, for me, at least, she probably is pretty hot, but is she my go-to, right? Is she a top 1% on OF Goon or an S tier Goon? I don't think so. I think I'm going to have to put her in can make it work. I might choose to Goon to her if I'm in the right mood, but, not ideal. Moving on to the next option here, Natalia Silva. Natalia Silva, I mean, she, if you're very far away from Natalia Silva, maybe she does look good. Maybe she does look all right. Maybe she would be considered a can make it work or a top 1% on OF Goon. But just the way she stands, when you look a little bit closer at the face, it's all a little bit too mannish for me. I personally don't think I would want to Goon to her, but I do think she is Goonable, right? So I think the expert difficulty Goon is the right option here. I think she's Goonable. She's Goonable, right? But she's not even can make it work. She's not top 1% on OF Goon. I would never choose to Goon to Natalia Silva personally. Moving on to the next option on the list, Kayla Harrison, bro. Kayla Harrison, probably the worst, honestly, maybe the worst option on the entire list. She's actually below nightmare difficulty Goon, bro. She's lower than that. I don't think I could ever get attracted to Kayla Harrison. She looks like Brock Lesnar. Took estrogen, took hormone replacement therapy, and she looks really, really gross. I'm gonna have to put her in the black category, bro. I'm putting her in the black category. As I said, black doesn't necessarily mean the actual race, right? But what it does mean is pretty low level Goon overall, right? Moving on to the next person on the list, Miesha Tate. Miesha Tate, bro, she's pretty bad, bro. She's pretty bad. I wouldn't say she's an S tier Goon. Just because she has aged kind of interestingly. A lot of stress, right? She looks a good bit older than she actually is. But she does have some, you know what I'm saying? She got the bazongas, right? She got the bazongas going on. She is pretty bad. So I would have to say top 1% on OF Goon. This is the type of Goon where, if I'm in the right mood, I would choose to goon to her, and I would be pretty happy about it. I wouldn't be shameful about gooning to Miesha Tate. She is pretty all right, man. She's pretty all right overall. So, yeah. Miesha Tate, top 1% on OF Goon. Now, Jocelyn Edwards. This is an interesting one because Jocelyn Edwards is black. Many people think I might put her in the black category. But, you know, many people would assume that I would put Jocelyn Edwards in the black category. I'm actually gonna have to go to Nightmare Difficulty Goon because she does look very Somalian. Doesn't look that good. But what is interesting about her is that she does have, you know, the back, you know, on her, right? She does have that back, and she is, you know, kind of tall. I like taller women. She has like long legs. I mean, you know, she may look Somalian, but she has the back on her. You know what I'm saying? So I am going to have to put her in Nightmare Difficulty Goon because it is going to be very hard to goon to Jocelyn Edwards, but it is possible. I think I could goon to Jocelyn Edwards. Moving on to the next person on the list, Jeff Molina. Jeff Molina has entered the conversation. If you know, you know. I thought I would just include Jeff Molina, because functionally he is basically a woman, right? He can't give birth to children, I don't think, but he is, you know, a very small guy, very, very weak guy. He's kind of like a liberal, kind of like a libbed out guy. And he has been caught, you know, blowing guys on camera. So, I mean, he is basically a modern woman. You know, I'm not gay. I'm not, you know, into Jeff Molina like that. But I think there are quite a few people in the MMA community who probably have gooned to Jeff Molina. So I am going to have to put him into the black category. Moving on, man. Mommy Shevchenko. Big fan of Mommy Shevchenko. I think she is top 1% on OF Goon. I mean, it speaks for itself. She has that Russian Slavic look about her. When she dolls herself up, she really has it going on. You know what I'm saying? She's a as Tito would like to say, an old mature, but, you know, in a good way, in a very good way. I think she could make some money on OF, especially with the accident and everything she has going on. Very, very attractive. I'm a big fan of Mommy Shevchenko. Moving on to our next option, Alexa Grasso. Obviously, a lot of people do like Alexa Grasso because, oh my gosh, she showed her feet on camera, man. Oh my God, she's always showing her feet. Oh my God, she looks so cute. You know what I'm saying? It's just weird to me. She has like a very man body. You know, broad shoulders, broad waist, no sort of assets going on whatsoever. I'm actually going to put her in a Nightmare Difficulty Goon because I would actually feel gay if I tried to goon to Alexa Grasso. You know, I would feel homosexual afterwards if I was just like looking at her face, because I mean, realistically, she just looks like a, you know, 18-year-old Hispanic boy who like never fully went through puberty. If you have ever gooned to Alexa Grasso, you are in fact gay. And you know, I'm standing on that. I'm dying on that hill. Moving on to our next choice, we have Norma Dumont. Her face kind of got cut off here, but I mean, this is like easily a top 1% goon. The only thing that moves her away from being an S-tier goon is the fact that, you know, she does have the bunda, right? She does have it going on, but it is very stiff looking. It doesn't have any jiggle physics whatsoever. You know, so I mean, she does look very good, and she has a very attractive face as well. But like, her shit is stiff. You know, her shit is stiff as a board, stiff as a rock. You know, But, I mean, I would goon to her. You know, maybe it wouldn't be the most aesthetically pleasing thing, but she is a top 1% goon. You know, top 1% on OF Goon. I think that's the right category for her. Moving on, Cheyenne Vlismas. I mean, this is an easy dub for me. She's my favorite WMMA fighter in general. Roman Dolidze is the man. He's the top G in the UFC. He's my champion. You know, he bagged Cheyenne Vlismas, flew her out to Georgia, and has just been pumping kids into her. And I don't blame him, man. You know, Roman Dolidze saw that Cheyenne was with some little 5'2", you know, broke ass YN. And, you know, he took her away from that life. You know what I'm saying? Roman Dolidze is getting the main event pay. He's getting that main event money. You know, he's a real ass YN. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, Cheyenne Vlismas is very attractive. Has that, like, Italian look to her. I don't know if she is Italian, but she definitely has, like, a Mediterranean look to her. But she's, like, very, very attractive, man. I think she's the most underrated goon in the UFC, to be honest, man. I think she's a very high-level goon. Now, moving on, the next person on this list, Maycee Barber, bro. Maycee Barber. I mean, it's an easy choice, right? Top 1% on OF Goon. Her next career option is going to have to be OF because her career in the UFC is donezo. She's been out for a year, then pulls out 5 minutes before the fight. But she is looking very good. She is looking very attractive lately. She's been showing a lot more skin. She lost a lot of, you know, stomach fat. She got breast implants, you know. The backside is looking all right. You know, everything about her has improved drastically. I truly do feel like she is a high-level goon right now. And I do feel like that place right here in the top 1% OF Goon is the right placement for her. Moving on, we have Dan Hardy's wife, Veronica Hardy. Dude, I'm going to have to put her in S-tier goon, bro. S-tier goon. Although I probably wouldn't want to goon her because she's such a nice woman. And, you know, she comes off as a very, like, wholesome young lady. She is very attractive. Very aesthetically pleasing. Even if she's shit at fighting, even if she's very garbage and can only beat, like, the worst fighters of all time. She is very, very aesthetically pleasing. Dan Hardy, he's a real ass YN. Besides Roman Dolidze, Dan Hardy might be the realest YN in UFC history. Roman Dolidze is obviously the king, but, you know, Dan Hardy, probably number 2, I would say. Now, moving on to our next choice, Verna Jandiroba. Now, hear me out, bro. Hear me out. The lazy eye. I mean, I'm not sure if I should put her in nightmare difficulty goon or black, right? I think she's more goonable than Kayla Harrison or Jeff Molina, obviously, right? So I would put her high-level black category, I would say, because she is very, like, fetal alcohol syndrome looking. She's very messed up looking, but at least she's, like, a smaller woman, right? I think I could manage to goon to her, but I would never choose to do it. I would feel very bad afterwards, like I just committed a crime. But I think I could manage to do it. But yeah, I think black category, high-level black. She's a high-level black. Next up on the list, Juliana Pena. I mean, it's kind of obvious. Can make it work. No. She's not on Luana Santos' level, right? She's not on that level. I'm going to put her in expert difficulty goon. Right next to Natalia Silva. She just kind of has like a weird looking face. She looked pretty good in her younger years when she was on The Ultimate Fighter. But since then, she's kind of fallen off overall. She has like a very horse-like face. No disrespect, because I would hit, you know what I'm saying? And I would probably goon at some stage. But, you know, it wouldn't be my first choice, and it would be a little bit hard. I don't know if I could get into it if I'm in the wrong mood. And she's definitely not on Luana Santos' level, so I'm going to put her at expert difficulty goon. Moving on in the list, Corey McKenna. This is another one. I think she's actually like bordering S tier goon and top 1% on OF goon. The only thing I think that keeps her in top 1% on OF goon is the fact that she looks a little bit too wholesome. Like, she looks even more wholesome than Veronica Hardy. Recently, however, she has been posting kind of slightly suggestive content, showing some skin or whatever. But for me, like, Corey McKenna just looks way too wholesome. I would goon to her. She is a very attractive woman, but, you know, realistically, bro, like, I would kind of feel dirty afterwards if I were to do something like that. So, yeah, I'm gonna say top 1% on OF goon, but she is a very attractive woman. Probably more of like a relationship type woman than a goon type woman, I would say. Now, moving on in the list, our final member of the tier list. You know, maybe we'll make a part 2 at some stage, but Paulo Costa, bro. Paulo Costa, probably the most attractive guy in the UFC. You know, if I ever were to be a gay guy, I probably would go for Paulo Costa. Especially considering, you know, he's a big fan of Uncle H. You know, he's a based guy, and he's very attractive, bro. Like, imagine if Paulo Costa was like 3 or 4 inches shorter and he had like a wig on, right? He had a wig on. Yeah, bro. I think I can make it work, bro. If Paulo Costa, if somebody AI'd Paulo Costa in a wig and like 3 inches shorter, 4 inches shorter, I could actually probably goon to Paulo Costa, right? I think in his current form, though, he probably is like an expert difficulty goon. But I would say, like, if I were to ever goon to a man, it probably would be Paulo Costa, bro. Probably would be Paulo Costa. But yeah, I mean, that's about it, guys. Let me know your thoughts on the tier list in the comments below. I want to hear all the thoughts. I want to hear all the prayers. I want to hear everything, right? Let me know if you think maybe somebody should be lower or higher. And let me know if you want me to make a part 2, because there's a lot of UFC fighters that we haven't touched on. But yeah, guys, let me know.